Welcome to Sunday Springboard with Melanie and Kimberlyn Coaching, where we help women find their strength and flourish after major life transitions. We have been studying a series on influencers, which are the factors that increase or decrease your energy depending upon whether they're optimum for you or whether they're not. We've talked about spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical factors. And last week we started talking about social factors, and today we're going to finish up on social. The social influencer, it has to do with society, people around us, how they affect us, and how to make this factor work to our benefit, not against us. Just as a reminder, I record all of my videos, and you can watch them at my website, KimberlynCoaching.com. Go to the Sunday Springboard tab, and you can find all my videos there. You can catch up on the series, or you can watch some of my previous series. So last week we talked about your desired amount and type of social interaction, like are you an introvert or are you an extrovert? We talked about the influence of others, and we talked about dealing with catabolic relationships and cultures. Today we're going to talk about communication, our ability to communicate well, influence others, and the presence of desired support systems, how to have anabolic people. Now remember that anabolic is the kind of energy that lifts you up, it encourages you, and inspires you. So we want to have a network of people who lift us up and encourage us and inspire us. And also someone to be accountable for. You remember that phone game you used to play when everybody's sitting around in a circle and the first person whispers something to the person next to them, and then they pass it on to the next, and you go all around the circle, get to the end, and the statement that the last person says is totally different than the one the first person says. So that showed us then, and it shows us now, that we often don't listen carefully. And if we don't listen carefully, we're not getting the full message. So the first thing we want to talk about today is communication and the ability to communicate. If we're dealing with difficult people or just people in general, people at work, people in our families, things will go better. Our energy will be higher if we can communicate well. So whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, it's important to learn good communication skills so that you can communicate well, because if you don't, you end up with that level 1, level 2 energy. Remember, level 1 is everything I do is wrong, I can't do it right, I'm sad, I'm depressed, I'm apathetic. Level 2 is I'm angry, you can't do anything right, you're bothering me. And so if I'm not communicating well with you, then I end up in resentment, I end up frustrated, I end up sad because I feel like I'm not being heard. When we feel those emotions, then that makes our communication even get worse. So we're going to talk about some basic and then some advanced communication skills. These will not only help you in whatever transition you're going through, but just in all of life. So the most important aspect of communication is listening. It's through listening that we learn and grow. Listening enables you to shift your energy and inspire others. It's ironic that while listening is so important, so many people don't do it well. And I have to admit, I'm growing in my listening skills. I used to listen in order to figure out what I was going to answer the person, or if they shared something, it was like, oh yeah, I've shared that, but I've had that before, or I would interrupt, and if y'all know me, y'all know I still do that sometimes. Talk over each other, and I'm working on that as a coach. My very livelihood is about listening, and we're going to talk about that some more as we go on. So you can be a powerful force by learning to listen. Listening to others helps you understand them, helps you understand what they need, what their concerns are, what their ideas are. And when you truly listen to someone, that makes them feel cared for. Think about it. When you've been around someone who gives you their full attention, I mean, they're not looking at their phone, they're not looking beyond you, they're listening, and they're making statements to you that makes you realize that they are really listening, and you feel like they really get you, and you love being around them, don't you? They make you feel important because they're giving you the time and the intensity of listening to you. So when we're trying to listen to someone, we want to listen with the beginner's mind. We take away judgment, we drop off the filters, we just try to listen to what that person is saying. What are they saying? What are they meaning behind what they're saying? What do they care about? I care about you. I want to know about you. What do you think about this? I'm not listening to try to talk you into thinking my way. I'm just listening to you to try to get to understand where you're coming from. So when I do this, I'm at my highest level of energy. I am working with my highest faculties. So a little story here. So this coaching client was more introverted than extroverted. She said that she often felt isolated from her daughter. So one of our specialists asked her to sit down and chat with her daughter to see if she could shift the energy. The results were amazing. By being curious, by asking a few questions, and then stopping and letting her daughter do most of the talking, she learned that her daughter was thinking about getting divorced, but she was afraid to tell her mom because she was afraid her mom would be upset about it or unhappy about it. When the woman reassured her daughter that whatever she wanted to do, she wanted her to be happy and she supported her, she was able to shift her energy, and their relationship became much better after that time. When someone really listens to you, that is profound. It's in this moment of true listening when true rapport is built, trust is established, buy-in is enabled, conflict is resolved, and real potential for success is created. So there's 3 levels of listening. The first level is subjective listening. In this level, the listener is listening just based on themselves. Everything you say, I'm relating it to myself. That's how I used to be, like I told you at the beginning. So whatever you say is filtered through my experience and how it relates to me. It rarely satisfies the person who's speaking. Everyday listening is usually subjective. We do a lot of this. This level is definitely used by people who control and don't really listen. So here's our scenario. We're going to use this scenario through the 3 levels. The first time the speaker says, I'm really upset that I didn't get that job. This is the 3rd time I've come this close and then been rejected. I'm not sure how long we can survive on one salary. Now, a subjective listener may say, I remember when I was interviewing and I finally got the job. It felt great. That wasn't good. Okay, so the next level is objective listening. This is a deeper level. The listener is completely focused on the person who's speaking. There's no thoughts about how this affects them. It's effective, but it still doesn't get to the heart of the matter. But it's still better. This will, if you can start listening objectively, this will improve your communication skills. So here's our scenario again. The speaker says, I'm really upset that I didn't get that job. This is the 3rd time I've come this close and then been rejected. I'm not sure how long we can survive on one salary. Now, an objective response would be, there was some tough competition for that position. Hang in there. You'll get something soon. So the speaker feels a little better, but maybe still not totally heard. Now, the deepest level of listening is called intuitive listening. At this level, the listener is hearing all sensory components. We're intuitively connecting to the speaker's real message. The listener is paying attention to not just what the person says, they're paying attention to how they're saying it. If they can see the person, they're paying attention to body language, tone of voice. They're really striving to listen to what is beneath the surface of what the person is saying. It's hearing between the lines and what they're really saying. It's the most powerful form of listening, and it allows the listener to really connect with the speaker. This is the kind of listening that we learn as a coach. It's different from regular listening. When I'm listening to you as a coach and I'm listening intuitively, I often have hits of things that I say, it sounds like you're doing this, and you go, wow, I didn't know that. How did you figure that out? Because it's the intuitive listening that we've learned how to do. So in this situation, the speaker says, I'm really upset that I didn't get that job. This is the 3rd time I've come this close and then been rejected. I'm not sure how long we can survive on one salary. So the intuitive response may be, you've been trying so hard. It makes sense that you're taking the rejection personally. Not only that, but it seems that you believe that you've let your family down and that you're not carrying your weight. So when that person was doing that listening, that person felt heard. They felt truly supported and nurtured. Now, remember we talked last week about a catabolic relationship. We're moving on now past the communication. Well, we're still in communication, but we talked about a catabolic relationship. Remember, the catabolic is negative, hard, difficult, tires you out. And you had 5 choices. You could remain a victim to it, you could leave it, accept it, change it, or change your perspective of it. Now, whatever stage you're in with a relationship with a difficult person, you may have to still do some communicating with them. So I have added some tips here that unfortunately I learned from experience, but hopefully they will help you if you are having to communicate with someone who is an addict, a narcissist, an abuser, or maybe someone who's just difficult and selfish. So first, don't try to have a conversation with someone when they're drunk or high. They are not going to be able to have a rational conversation, and you will just make yourself crazy. It's amazing how many times we do try to have those relationships, and they're useless. Even if it feels like it's a good one, they're not going to remember it the next day, and basically it's just going to turn into some kind of an argument. Number 2 goes along with that. Don't try to convince someone that they're drinking or using or doing anything like that. They know it, and you know it. You don't need to try to get them to admit it. Now, the 3rd thing is be aware of gaslighting. You may not know what gaslighting is. The term comes from the movie Gaslight. In this movie, the man tries to make his wife believe she's crazy. And that's what is basically happening. So it can happen in many different ways, but the person who is doing the gaslighting is trying to divert the attention away from themselves and make the other person think that they're wrong, think that they're crazy, think that they're overreacting. So some of the ways that it can happen is they say, when you confront them with something, they tell you it didn't happen. Just flat didn't happen. They say you're overreacting, you're imagining it, you're lying. And they turn it back around on you, and you often, or most, usually always end up defending yourself. After the conversation's over, you're like, what just happened there? Maybe I'm the one who's wrong. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm this, maybe I'm that. Now, sometimes people have some real issues with you, and it's good to have someone that you can go and say, I need a reality check here. Tell them what happened, and your friend can give you an answer of, is that true or not? Most of the time in these situations, the things that are saying are not true. Here's an example of how it used to play out for me. So let's say I would bring up a subject that I wanted to talk about, usually something confrontive. So I would make my statement, and then they would accuse me of something like, you just think you're perfect, or, well, you just expect me to be perfect. Now I would listen to what they said, and I would ponder it, and I would try to decide, is this true or not? Am I thinking I'm perfect? Am I expecting them to be perfect? Or whatever it was they were accusing me of, I truly would listen to it, and you can do the same thing, and try to decide, is this true? But then most of the time, well, if it was true, then I would try to change it. But if I listened to it, it wasn't true back then, before I realized what was happening, then I would start defending myself. No, I don't. I know that I'm not perfect. That's not what I'm talking about. Or I'm not trying to get you to be perfect. I just, this one little thing, and it would just go on. And so the whole conversation turned around, and it was not about them, it was about me now. So whatever it was that I was trying to talk about just got thrown away. It was not communicated about. One day it hit me. He doesn't really think this about me. He doesn't really think I think I'm perfect. He's just using this to divert the attention off of himself and onto me. Because once I start defending myself, I'm not going forward with whatever it was I wanted to talk to them about. So this is the purpose of gaslighting, is the manipulation to try to get you to leave them alone, and they don't have to change their ways, and they do it as a manipulation, except basically so that they can feel right, and they can feel like they are in charge and aren't having to listen to you. So the last thing that I want to say as one of my tips is, I found that it was helpful to discover who you can have a rational conversation with and who I could not. In Al-Anon, they say, don't try to buy your bread at the hardware store. Some people are not going to have a rational conversation with you. Some people cannot give you the love, give you the attention, give you what you need. And if the people in your life are like this, then you need to find some more friends that can give you the love, can give you the attention, can give you the rational conversation. And then if you decide, you can still decide one of those 5 things about that relationship, but you still need to have someone on the side who will listen to you, help you, like I said before, have that reality check, and lift you up and support you. And that actually is what we're talking about next, creating your anabolic support team. Anabolic lifts you up. So it's important to have people around you who will inspire you. So it's good to have people who are better than you, smarter than you, richer than you. They know more than you. They have better communication skills. They have better life skills. It's always great to have people that are better than you in these aspects, so they can lift you up and inspire you, and you can learn from them. It's also good to have some that maybe you can mentor and inspire also. But make sure it's not all one way. You need to have people that you are being inspired by, as well as people that you're inspiring. Another thing that's good about having these positive people around you is to have accountability. When you're trying to make changes in your life, it's nearly impossible to do it on your own. You can do it maybe when it's easy, but when it gets hard and difficult, if you don't have someone to be accountable for, you're probably going to fall back into your old ways. So find right people. Find people that, or if you're in recovery, find recovery groups. Obviously, I love Al-Anon. I love Celebrate Recovery, which is a Christian 12 steps. Obviously, a coach like me would be great, or just any person that's positive and supportive, and they're living in a way that you want to live, and they're willing to spend time with you and listen to you. So who do you have? Who do you have to support you, to hold you accountable? So to sum up everything we've talked about last week and this week is social things matter. People affect us. People influence us. Our communication skills are important. Knowing whether we need time by ourselves, whether we need time with people, or both, whatever recharges us. We need to know ourselves and know what we need and take care of ourselves. We need to learn to listen. We need to learn to communicate well. We want to have positive people around us to help inspire us and encourage us. And in your life on these communication skills, there's times you're going to do all 3 levels. There's times you're just going to do the subjective. You're going to do the objective. And then hopefully you're going to learn to do the intuitive. We're humans. We're not going to do any of this perfectly. So just be okay with yourself. Don't give yourself a hard time. But by working and learning to do this, listening at the deeper levels, you'll really improve your life, improve your communications. If you would like some help in developing these skills or working through any of the things that we've talked about, consider hiring me as your coach. Go to my website, KimberlyCoaching.com, fill out the form at the bottom of the Work With Me page, and I will contact you and we can talk about where we could go from here and whether we could work together well. I hope that you've gotten some good tips today, and I hope you have a great week. See you next week. Bye-bye.